Scholomance Academy is here, so it's time to review the Druid cards. If you ask me, they have some of the most OP and powerful cards in the entire set, so it should be super cool to take a look at them. Let's start off with Partner Assignment. It's a 1 mana spell that gives you a 1 random 2-cost beast and 1 random 3-cost beast. This is pretty decent. 1 mana draw 2 would be quite strong compared to, say, Arcane Intellect, which is 3 mana draw 2. However, it's 2 random cards and in particular 2 random beasts. So do you necessarily want that? Well, the plus side of it is that it gives you a guaranteed curve if you were to play it on 1, although you don't actually play or develop anything on 1, which is very powerful for an aggro deck. On the other hand, the cards don't necessarily synergize with the rest of your deck. I don't really think that you have enough beast support in Druid, especially since this wouldn't synergize with the other cards since they're just randomly generated. However, it is a cheap spell, and some of the other cards in this set do synergize very well with cheap spells, so it's kind of hard to say where this will go. I think in overall card quality, I'm going to give this a 3, and I think people might experiment with this, but not keep it, so a 2 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. Next up, we have Gibberling. This is a crazy card. This is an easy 5 out of 5. It feels broken. For those who don't know, it is a 1 mana 1/1 with Spellburst to summon a Gibberling. That does mean that it is summoning another card that is a 1/1 with Spellburst, which means you could do something crazy like summon a 1 mana Gibberling, then play Coin, and you'd have a second Gibberling, then play Innervate, and you'd have a third Gibberling, then play Power the Wild, and you'd have a fourth Gibberling, and you'd power them all up, and you'd have 4 2/2s right at the start of the game. You know, obviously that's a pretty niche scenario, but you could easily see how you could get like a 3/3 worth of stats on the first turn and just go totally crazy with it in the later turns as well. So really powerful card. Could start an entire archetype. I think it will support an archetype either through kind of a spell token based Druid or a more traditional token based Druid. And I think it is, again, a 5 out of 5 in terms of overall card quality and probably a 4 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance, just because it defines the deck that it would be in, I think. Moving right along, we have Twilight Runner, which is a 5 mana 5/4 stealth. Whenever this attacks, draw 2 cards. Again, a really crazy card. A 5 mana 5/4 stat line is not bad, and then giving it stealth is even better. Pretty much guarantees you're going to get 5 damage out of it. And then on top of that, when it attacks, it draws 2 cards, and because it is stealthed, it is probably going to attack. So it's basically 5 mana 5/4, draw 2 cards, and deal 5 damage, which is significantly better than the 5 mana 5/5 dragon that drew a card. And this is just an insanely powerful card. It's also a beast, which could be relevant to other cards in the set, but yeah, just super powerful card. Easy, probably, I honestly think it might even be 5 out of 5 in terms of the power level, and then 4 out of 5 in terms of the meta relevance. Next up, we got another 5 mana beast. This is Teacher's Pet. It is a 5 mana 4/5 taunt with Death Rattle, summon a random 3-cost beast. This is a lot of stats for the mana. You know, it's basically a Yeti with taunt for 1 more mana, but then you also get a Death Rattle that summons, maybe a 3/4 at best. But it's just not great. The only reason I could see this being run is because of the next card, Guardian Animals, and that actually might be very likely because it's still a pretty solid card, but on its own, I don't think you would want to run this. I don't think it's sort of enticing. It's only if it enables other cards. So I think this is basically like a 2 in overall card quality. I just don't think it's good enough in today's meta. It's still very solid. And maybe a 3 in meta relevance. Again, if Guardian Animals ends up being good, this will be good too. Which brings me to Guardian Animals. Guardian Animals is a 7 mana card. Summon 2 beasts that cost 5 or more from your deck and give them Rush. So this is like the power of bundling. It summons 2 5-cost cards from your deck and draws them and gives them Rush. So it's kind of like a mix of a bunch of different things. But if you were to, say, summon 2 Twilight Runners and then attack with those, you would essentially be drawing 2 cards from your deck and then drawing 4 cards from your deck and dealing 10 damage, like killing 2 minions, which is just insane. It's very powerful. I think this is another easy 4 to 5 in terms of card quality. And again, this could like be the top end of a aggressive-y deck or a mid-range deck. It's hard to say because there aren't that many other good beasts and you'd want to stick with those 5 slots. So maybe I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. It's tricky, but it's still a very strong card, and eventually this card will see play. I'm pretty confident about that. Moving right along, we have Survival of the Fittest. This is a 10 mana spell, and 10 mana spells are always quite difficult to play, and it gives +4/+4 to all the minions in your hand, deck, or battlefield. On its own, this is actually pretty weak. If you think about it, it's 10 mana to do potentially nothing that directly impacts the board when you have it in your hand, and it's a dead card until the very end of the game. Unless you use Kael'thas, or however it's pronounced, where you play every third spell costs 0. If you could cheat this out, then it's very, very powerful and really, really good. So that is kind of how I could see it being played. Even still, I'm not sure it will be played, but that would make it an overall 2 out of 5 in terms of card quality. I don't think this is good at all. But in terms of meta relevance, maybe a 3 out of 5, because if Spell Druid and the Kael'thas stuff can kind of work together, then it is quite good. It's sort of like that 8 mana card that buffed your things and gave them taunt. Like, it's not good on its own, but if you can make it cost 0, of course it's quite good. Next up, we have Forest Warden Omu. This card is ridiculous. This is definitely one of the most broken cards in the set. It's a 5 mana, 6 mana, 5/4. Spell Burst, refresh your mana crystals. I don't even know if I really have to say why this card is so good. The stat line is okay, but just being able to refresh all of your mana crystals, like do a bunch of stuff and then play a spell and immediately get your mana crystals back, you know, it's just ridiculous. Like, it's just absurd. It cheats mana. I'm sure someone will come up with a combo for this. It's a very, very strong card. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 in terms of overall card quality. This is a potential candidate for a nerf, and if it doesn't work in this set, it will work eventually. And I'm going to say, you know, 4 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. I think someone will figure out something with this deck. Maybe it's Malagos, maybe it's something else. Something with this card. Moving along, we have Speaker Guidra. This is another crazy, crazy card. It's a 3 mana 1/4 with Rush and Wind Fury and Spell Burst, where you gain the attack and health equal to the spell's cost. So if you do this with a 1 mana spell, you'll get a 2/5 with Rush, Wind Fury, which is already actually pretty solid. And if you know, do something bigger, like say Wrath, you could remove a minion with 3 damage and then buff it up by 2/2, which would make it a 3/6 with Rush, Wind Fury. That's like very, very solid. It's just overall a pretty good card, and I think because you're going to be playing a lot of spells, and Druid is generally already playing a lot of spells because of Glowfly Swarm and that kind of thing, I'm almost positive this will see play. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 in card quality and a 4 out of 5 in meta relevance. Next up, we have Runic Carvings. This is a 6 mana card that summons you 4 totems / treants. They're kind of a combination. And if you overload for 2, you can give them all Rush. I think this card is like quite a bit better than Force of Nature, for example, which is a 5 mana card that gives you 3 2/2 treants. So for 1 more mana, you get 1 extra 2/2, and you get the ability to rush them, which is some flexibility. So it's not bad. I just don't know if it's necessarily good enough to fit in the slots. Like, you have to think of a deck as only having 30 cards, and it wants to pick the absolute best cards if it is a top tier deck, and I'm not sure this is in that best category. So I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 in terms of overall card quality, and I'm just going to say a 2 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. I don't think it's going to make the cut. Next up, we have Adorable Infestation. Anyone who played against Ultimate Infestation knows you have to be a little wary of the word infestation on a Druid card, and I actually think this card is quite solid. You get a 1 mana 1/1 cub, you can give a minion +1/+1, and you add a cub to your hand. So it's kind of a bit like Firefly almost. You get a 1/1 and then another 1/1 in your hand. You used to get a 1/1 plus a 1/2 and a 1/2. You also get the +1, so if you're playing it on something, it could be quite good. But I think where we're really going to see this card is in that Gibberling deck that I think will be created. Just because you play a Gibberling, then you buff the Gibberling, make a new Gibberling, like it can go off really quickly, and then you have a bunch of cheap little token things to sort of buff up later. So I think this is a pretty strong card. I would give it a 4 out of 5 in terms of overall quality, and I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. I think this will be part of that Gibberling deck, and I think that Gibberling deck will be pretty good. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for both. Our next card is Groundskeeper. This is a 4 mana 4/5 with Taunt, which is basically a Chillwind Yeti, and it has a battle cry where if you're holding a spell with 5 or more cost, you will get 5 health. I think that's just not good enough right now. I think it is very solid. It'd be great in Arena, and you know, like if you're building your collection, this might be a good fit, but it's just not going to be in that top tier competitive deck. I think there's other cards you'd run instead. So for that reason, I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 5. It's not a bad card in terms of quality. And then a 1 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. I don't think you'd even consider this card. Moving right along, we have Lightning Bloom, a card that really makes you think about how crazy Innervate was before it was nerfed. This is a 0 mana card that you get 2 mana crystals temporarily, and you overload for 2 in the process. I think 0 mana cards are always really strong, and this card in particular enables a lot of stuff. It can enable combos. You could play Malagos and then play it twice, and then, you know, get a lot of crazy spell damage stuff going on. It also could be used to make more Gibberlings. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I think this is going to be really good for, and this kind of mana cheating really just breaks the game all the time. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 in terms of card quality and a 4 out of 5 in terms of meta relevance. Next up, we have Nature Studies. It's a 1 mana card that says discover a spell, your next one costs 1 less. And I think this is actually pretty good. It's basically an ethereal lackey. I think Druid actually got quite a few good spells this time around. And the fact that it keeps the discount later is also quite strong. Plus there's the Gibberling support and all that, so I think this is a card you would actually run, and I think I would put it as a 4 out of 5 for both meta and for the overall card quality. Our last card is the Druid Hunter Legendary Shudo Wildclaw. This is a choose one effect that either lets you give +1/+1 to all the beasts in your deck, or to become a copy of a beast on the board, a friendly beast on the board, which would not be a 3/3 copy. It would be like a 5/5 or an 8/8 or whatever kind of beast you have. I think this card just doesn't have the right support. I think it's actually pretty strong. You know, you look at it and think, isn't that like Prince Keliseth? Well, it only buffs beasts. Does Druid have enough beasts to support this? No, definitely not. Does Druid want to play a bunch of cheap kind of neutral beasts? No, it doesn't either. So it's not going to play it for that reason. And then does it play it to copy a beast? Well, yeah, you could copy like Winged Guardian or something, but that's just not worth running it. Again, card slots are competitive. It's okay, you know, maybe further down the line if we just had like a crazy heavy beast set, it could be good. And certainly if you in Hunter, it might be good. I'd have to look at that later, but I don't think this card is that great. So I'm going to give it like a 3 out of 5 for overall quality, maybe even a 4 out of 5, because it is a good card. But then in the meta, and in kind of how it is now, it's a 1. People aren't going to play this. And that wraps up our Druid set. And next up, we're going to be looking at Hunter. And if you enjoyed the video, I also have the Demon Hunter review before this video. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you liked the video. Bye for now.